Hi, my name is Brittany J. Jones. In this video, I will be demonstrating how to do a French seam. A French seam gives the inside of your garment a really beautiful finish by encasing the seam allowances. You will see a French seam recommended for really light and delicate fabrics such as silks, chiffons, and organza. Let's go ahead and get started doing a French seam now. To do a French seam, I'm going to be using this fabric here. I went with this fabric because I really want to point out a key factor when doing a French seam, and that is we have to make sure that we have our fabric wrong sides facing when we do our first stitch. We commonly sew with our fabrics right sides facing, but to do a French seam, you want to make sure you have your fabric wrong sides facing, so the right side of the fabric should be facing you. The first thing that we want to do with our fabrics wrong sides facing, you can grab a few pins and we're going to do a straight stitch right along this side here. So you will be sewing along your seam. We're going to do it at a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. So I'm going to head to my sewing machine now. I'm going to back stitch at the beginning and at the end, and I'm going to do it in a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now that we have it sewn, again, I stitched it at a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. I'm going to trim it in half. So I'm going to grab my scissors here and I'm just going to trim away half of the seam allowance. Now that I've trimmed away half of the seam allowance, I'm going to open this up. I'm going to go to my ironing station. I'm going to press my seam allowance to one side. After I have it pressed to one side, then I'm just going to fold it with the right sides facing and give it one more press, just to make sure the seam is nice and flat. I have my fabric pressed. First, again, I pressed my seam to one side and then I folded it in half and I gave it another press, just to make sure everything is nice, flat, and crisp. Now we can go back to the sewing machine. This stitch is another straight stitch and we're going to do it at a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, going all the way down, being sure to back stitch at the beginning and the end. I've just done my 1/4 of an inch stitch, so now we can open up the fabric and take a look. So this will be the right side of your garment, and as you can see, it is very clean. There is no excess fabric or frays poking out because we trimmed off some of that seam allowance. We gave it a really great press, and the inside of the garment will have a really beautiful finish. So again, this is the right side of the garment. And this is the inside of your garment. I hope you've enjoyed this demonstration of a French seam.